אבא, יש מלא מתים, תשלח משטרה לפה.
מתים?
אבא, בבקשה, תשלח משטרה לפה.
On the 7th of October 2023, at the break of dawn, as thousands of young people celebrated music,
والله قلت لكم מישהו שיכול לתת לנו סימן חיים? מישהו עם סימן חיים? שום סימן חיים? לא. היא מתה. היא מתה. היא מתה.
לנשום עמוק, להתחבא, להיות פני מתה. תהי מתה, יובלי תהי מתה.
Over 53,000 lives are estimated to have been lost in Gaza in less than 2 years. The narrator explained, tense and dramatic but not sensationalist, emphasizing the scale and emotion. Why does this conflict continue without a clear resolution? Since October 2023, we've witnessed an unprecedented intensity of conflict. This isn't merely a war between two entities. It's a clash of history, politics, and humanity that reverberates across every corner of the globe. To grasp today's complexities, we must return to its roots. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is one of the longest in modern history. It stems from decades of disputes over land, identity, and historical claims. This includes the 1948 Nakba. The occupation of Palestinian territories after the 1967 Six-Day War further complicated matters. At the heart of the Gaza tension, we find Hamas, the Islamist militant group that has controlled the Gaza Strip since 2007. For Israel and its allies, Hamas is a terrorist organization. However, for many Palestinians, they are a party that won the 2006 Palestinian legislative elections and subsequently took control of Gaza in 2007. The Gaza Strip itself, prior to 2023, had been under a strict Israeli and Egyptian blockade since Hamas took control. This created extremely challenging living conditions for millions of its residents.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it. Once the Jewish people were stateless, once the Jewish people were defenseless, Israel will win this war. And when Israel wins, the entire civilized world wins.
On October 7, 2023, the world was stunned by a surprise attack by Hamas into southern Israel. This assault killed over 1,200 Israelis, mostly civilians, marking one of the deadliest days in Israel's history. Simultaneously, Hamas abducted hundreds of people, taking them as hostages to Gaza. Hamas stated this attack was a response to the prolonged blockade, the occupation, and issues related to the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex. Many analysts also highlight its potential link to efforts to normalize Israel-Saudi Arabian relations, which could alter regional dynamics. The impact of this attack sent shockwaves through the region and the world. Israel's response came with full force. Through military Operation Iron Swords, Israel launched a massive invasion into the Gaza Strip. Its objectives were clear: to dismantle Hamas and free the hostages. However, the cost has been immense. Israel's military operation in this densely populated area caused extensive damage to hospitals, schools, and public facilities. Tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians have been killed, with casualty figures continuously soaring. Hospitals, schools, and other civilian infrastructure lie in ruins. Mass evacuation orders to areas that were subsequently also attacked added to the complexity of the humanitarian crisis. For instance, as reported by Associated Press and other outlets like The Times, an Israeli airstrike reportedly killed 9 of a doctor's 10 children in Gaza. Entering 2024, the conflict continued without signs of abatement. Calls for a ceasefire repeatedly reached dead ends. Restrictions on humanitarian aid further worsened the crisis. According to the UN, over 90% of Gaza's population at that time faced acute food insecurity. Millions of residents were forced to displace multiple times, living in dire conditions without adequate access to food, clean water, and medicine. Despite increasing international pressure, military operations persisted. This triggered widespread famine and disease, as reported by various UN agencies and international humanitarian organizations. Now, in May 2025, this crisis has reached a boiling point. The death toll in Gaza is estimated to have surpassed 53,573 lives. Over 121,688 people have been injured since October 2023. In Israel, massive protests, particularly from hostage families, continue to pressure the government to prioritize the release of their relatives. Global calls for an end to the war are growing louder. Several nations are warning of potential sanctions against Israel. As reported by outlets like Al Jazeera and reflected in live coverage from sources like The Guardian, Canada, the UK, and France have openly warned Israel of potential concrete actions and sanctions if military operations are not ceased and aid restrictions lifted. The UK even suspended trade talks with Israel and imposed sanctions on settlers, the narrator explained diplomatically. Legal proceedings at the International Court of Justice and investigations by the International Criminal Court are also escalating pressure. However, Prime Minister Netanyahu remains steadfast in his initial objective, the narrator noted tensely. Ironically, amidst intensified attacks, Israel is also reportedly resuming ceasefire talks with Hamas in Qatar. There are concerns of a broader regional escalation if armed groups in Lebanon, Yemen, or other regional actors become further involved. Behind every number, there is a human story. We just want to live in peace, says a Gaza resident. We want our hostages home, pleads a family in Israel. This conflict is a bitter reminder of the high cost of stalemate. The question now, is a two-state solution still possible? Or are we moving towards a new, more inclusive model to resolve this conflict? And what role can we, as individuals, play in understanding and responding to this tragedy? These are the questions we must reflect upon together. Hope, however fragile, still lives in the hearts of those who suffer the most.